Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another scintillating episode of Durham Unplugged. I'm your host, Sterling Lee. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Joanne Dies. She's the Regional Councillor for Ward 3 in the town of Ajax. Joanne, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Sterling, as
How
always.
have you been coping with self-isolating?
Oh, it's not my thing. I don't think many of us cope with it well because it's in our DNA. We like to socialize.
That's what
And
I've been saying, yeah.
that's the part of my job I miss the most is the people I meet on a daily basis.
And
It's hard.
right?
So I go for a walk along the waterfront and I meet the daily walkers who spread information at a social distance, of course.
Now, when you
And I get my fix.
you go for your walk, is that a morning walk, afternoon walk? Is that an evening walk? When do you generally go for your walk?
I prefer to go early in the morning. I can't always do that, but that's my preference.
Right. And do you see the same people going for the same? Do you find people are kind of following a set routine?
Absolutely. They love it. They're not going to give it up. But I see a lot of new people also.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. The
Keeping
trails
6
are
meters
busy.
apart, of course, or 6 feet apart, not 6 meters.
Yeah, and I find that people are really good with the social distancing and everybody understands and we smile and talk from a distance and
Right.
as we're moving
Right.
sometimes.
Getting those steps in.
Yeah, so dog walkers and walkers. It's
Now,
great.
do you eat breakfast first? What does Joanne Dies do in the morning? Do you make a nice breakfast,
No.
eggs, bacon, toast, then go for a very nice walk, come back, or what is it? Give us the minutia of what Joanne Dies does during the day.
Well, every day is different in this life, right? Especially now.
No, see, that's the thing. My life is exactly the same. I get up at the same
You
time.
have a little one. You have a routine
Yeah, exactly.
that you have to stick to for your guy.
Or else we go crazy.
For us, I'm up early generally, and
What time is early?
I get up between 6:30, 7, sometimes 6.
That's late.
Well, I don't have a little one.
I know. I know.
So
Okay.
for me, that's early. Nobody else is up, so I come downstairs and I do my reading or some work on the computer, catch up on emails, do stuff that I want to do when it's quiet. And then I'll get dressed and go for my walk.
Nice. Do you go with a family member or you go by yourself?
By myself, usually.
Okay.
I have done with a family member, but I usually go on my own. And it really depends on what time I have during the day, too.
And what do you eat? What does Joanne Dies eat for breakfast? Are you a cereal person?
Well, I have food allergies, so there's not a lot I can eat. So that was my chore today, was to go out and find out what I can eat that's different. Because I'm getting tired of eggs.
Right. So you must eat like a lot of protein then, because that's the one thing you can process, right?
Bananas, eggs, peanut butter, gluten-free, milk-free.
Right. I'm eating the exact opposite of that diet. I'm eating nothing but gluten and nothing but milk.
Yeah, well, you're gonna need to go for walks with me.
Yeah, seriously. But unfortunately, I have nowhere to park if that's the case, because we shut off the waterfront, which is good.
When it gets warm, you
Right.
can ride down. Park your bike, we'll go for a walk, pick some rocks and some wonderful driftwood.
You said a lot of words I don't understand. So first things first, you said the word run, and I don't comprehend that word. And then you said ride the bike down, which I also don't comprehend.
It's not that bad. A lot of people are doing it now. I'm seeing a lot more cyclists around.
Well, sure, but I can't. This is one of my many
right.
names. I can't ride a bike, Joanne.
Oh, well, we're going to teach you that.
I look forward to that because honestly, as soon as this social distancing ends, I'd like to learn how to ride a bike because, I grew up in Markham off like a major road. And so there was literally like no place for my parents to teach me. And then my parents were always working too. So I just accepted at one point in my teens, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to ride a bike. I think I could. I think I understand the principles behind how to ride a bike, but I myself cannot. It's never been practiced.
Well, for me, I grew up in a rural area. Highland Creek was rural back then.
Where is that roughly?
By the zoo. It's Highway 2, Meadowvale.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a village. It was on the Highway 2 route for coach stops. So it's always been a little hamlet, a little village. And if you wanted to go anywhere, you got on your bike and you went because nobody was close by.
Right.
And your mother didn't drive you there.
Right.
You're on your own. I was bused to school too. So, that was always a challenge, particularly with music, because if I had a rehearsal after school, I was hoofing it home with this big French horn, which
And
is
you've
not,
always played French horn, correct?
yeah.
Okay.
But so
And
I had a
you
real
still play
kind of
that?
rural life.
Right,
Sorry?
right, right. You still play French horn now?
I still do.
Nice.
I play with the Pickering Community Concert Band. I played with the Markham Concert Band for 10 years, and this gives away my age, doesn't it? 10 years with Markham, and then I've done almost 30 years with Pickering.
Okay. What was that noise just now?
So I've been playing a long time.
Oh, that's your mic. As you have been. Now, I asked you on text, I don't know if you got it, to bring your French horn with you. Do you have your French horn by you?
No, I don't.
I was hoping you could play us a ditty.
No way.
Well, Joanne has invited us to go to like their Christmas concerts since we joined council, but unfortunately it's always coincided with a day where I'm in Kingston visiting my in-laws, and so I was hoping Joanne would break out the French horn today and play a little song for us. But maybe next time we can convince her to play French horn for us.
We very rarely get a melody. It's a considered, I guess, a more classical instrument, although it doesn't have to be. We can play contemporary music, of
Can't you play
course.
hot cross buns? Isn't that like hot?
I don't know. I used to know how to play Oscar Mayer Wiener. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, that is what I truly like to be.
Yeah.
Because if I was an Oscar Mayer,
When
everyone would be in love with
high
me.
school, that's all we did. Picked up an instrument, and learned how to play that.
And then presumably you can sight read notes as well, right?
You have to, yeah.
Right. So can you play other instruments then? Like you could play piano.
Oh no, that's different. That's a
No.
different skill altogether. They're all very different. My husband has his grade 8 piano. He was a very good musician, played piano. He started on clarinet as well and then moved to trombone. But he won't to come and play with us at the band because he's a bit of a perfectionist, and
Right.
it would take too much work for him to get up there again. So you lose it very quickly when you're not playing all the time.
And how did you meet your husband? How long you been married for?
30 years. And we met in high school. We were high school sweethearts.
Get out of here. That's adorable.
Some days it is.
Touche. And how does your husband's name is Gary?
Yes.
And how did Gary, do you remember how he proposed to you?
I don't think we really had a true proposal.
Okay.
For so long, right? It was just, it's time to get married.
Right.
Yeah, well, we lived together for a little while before we decided we were going to get married.
Whoa. Now that
was a bad thing.
Living in sin as far as I'm concerned, Joanne.
Yeah, well, I paved the way for my younger sibling.
Yeah. And okay, so you have one younger sibling or two, or just
I have one brother, younger brother.
And what is he up to these days?
Well, they're working from home, both he and his wife. He has a teenage son, and of course they're doing the online learning while everybody's sharing one computer. So it's challenging for them, and they're being very good in staying at home, isolated.
Are they based in
downtown?
Are they downtown Toronto?
Well, yeah, they're around the Greek area.
Oh, so Danforth.
Danforth, yeah. It's nice down there. I love that area.
I lived on the Danforth for about 2 years of my life. My parents had they kicked me out of the house, to be honest. And so I lived with my sister on her couch for about a month, and then I got my own place on the Danforth, and I lived there for 2 years, right off of Logan.
Yeah, around there, yeah.
And I was sick of the Greek Fest. The Greek Fest got very annoying when you live on the Danforth.
Oh, it's too big now.
Yeah, well, even back then, and that was like 15 years ago. It was too big then, so it's probably just ridiculous now, right?
Well, I totally understand that. We lived in the beach for many, many years.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I loved that because I would just walk out my door, get the streetcar, and go right down to work. I could do all my shopping through the streetcar window, call Gary, tell him to pick it up. And I loved it. But we used to have the Jazz Festival.
Jazz Festival, of course.
And it's great when, it's a smaller event, but of course they become very successful and everybody wants to come. And then it's like, get out of town. We leave while the Jazz Festival comes.
And I like after a while it stopped being exclusively like jazz bands. I found it just became anybody with a live band could perform at Jazz Fest.
Yeah, there were a lot of buskers, and I mean, it's great. Obviously, I think anything promotes music is wonderful, and as long as you are able also to promote the local people.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be someone who's got a name that everybody recognizes. It's an opportunity to promote locally. And that's like the band I play in. It's local, it's community. We don't audition for a reason, because you can come in and you can sort of, if it's not your level of ability, you make a decision whether you're going to work it up, or, you're going to move on to something else. So we don't charge membership fees, and we don't do auditions, and it works really well. We have a great mix of age, which is always fun to see, and ability too.
Right.
So there are some older members that have had experience as professional musicians, and they mentor the younger ones. It's great.
And what is the name of your outfit? Are you guys called the Beatles?
Yeah, it's the Pickering Community Concert Band.
You never named yourself? Like, I don't know, something fancy?
That's it.
Oh.
In those days, you used to name it after the community where you were.
Yeah, fair enough.
And who really were helping you, establish. And Pickering was always very, very good to us.
Right. And what do you?
And sincerely, they were wonderful, and they offer us rehearsal space every week.
Good.
And they're wonderful.
And what do you? So outside of not rehearsing French horn, and after your walks and breakfast, what does Joanne Dies do for the other 18 hours of her day?
Well, we're still working, right?
We are.
We've always worked hard, I have to say, honestly, and it hasn't stopped. It seems to come in spurts, though. So this weekend will be a whole weekend of reading, because I have a couple of meetings Monday. And then, you're catching up on other things as well. There's always something. Oh, yeah, we have to do video and, make a sign and this kind of stuff. That takes time. But otherwise, I grew up in a household that was very artistic and supportive of the arts. So I always have a project. Always. So I'm making floor pillows for the kids. I'm sewing those.
Oh, okay.
I've been wanting to do for a while. So I'm doing that now. And I've been collecting driftwood, because I have some ideas of something I want to do with that. And yeah, I've got lots of things to do.
So I'm heard, because I've been on council for like a year and a half now. And I don't think I've ever been a recipient of anything artistic or crafty from you.
Well, because when I'm working...
What's up with that, Joanne?
No time. No time is what's up with that. Very frustrating.
So you're committing...
So I do that in the summertime when I have a couple of weeks. I'll yank something out, whether I'm refinishing something, painting something, I'll yank it out and work on it. But I don't really have a lot of time to do that. So that's why I'm busy right now, because I'm pulling all those things out of the closet in the garage that I wanted to do that I haven't had time to do.
But now that you're doing it, you are committing by the end of our isolation and we're out of this, you're going to give me a pillow or something, right?
I'll never finish them, not all of the list, but yeah. Okay.
It's on the record. It's on the camera. You have to give
all right.
some sort of craft or a pillow now.
They shut all the stores down. If you need a zipper or something, it's not so easy.
I think I forgot Marilyn. We were complaining that hairstylists should be essential, because my hair has become very unruly now, to be honest.
Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So now apparently color is flying off the shelves.
I saw that. Yes.
Starting to buy it up. I was lucky. I got there just before everything shut down, but it won't be long before I'm going crazy too.
Yeah. No, totally.
All these little things you don't think of.
Yeah. You have two children, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I do. They're adults now.
Yes. I guess they're adults, right?
2 children and 2 grandchildren.
And everybody at the house?
No, not everybody. My son and his family with the 2 grandchildren are on their own, of course. My daughter's still here.
Okay.
She lives with us, yeah.
Is she able to work, or is she pretty much not working?
No, she isn't. She was working for a restaurant, which she loves, and of course they've had to close down.
Right, that's unfortunate.
So we have all, our fingers crossed that when this is over,
Everyone gets back to work.
we can get back to normal. The
Yeah.
sooner the better, and support, our different businesses.
And do you find you guys are just sitting at the dinner table trying not to kill each other, or how do you guys
We have our good and bad days like anyone
just
else.
like anyone else?
That's why walking's so good.
Right. So I find
Wow.
we've been potty training Finn because we're just like, now's the best time to potty train because we have nothing else to do, and
Yeah.
he was good for a while. So um, he wouldn't necessarily tell us he had to potty, but we had it down where it's like he had scheduled potty times and he would always go at those times. And so for about a week and a half, he was not going anywhere else except the potty, which is great. Today, however, he seems to have forgotten everything we taught him because he peed on the floor, I think, like 3 times today. And you're just like, come on.
Patience.
Well, I was going to ask you, is there any advice you can give a new father on how to potty train his child?
It will come when he's ready.
No, don't tell me that. Don't. I
Well,
need it to happen now.
sometimes you can't force it, but if he's doing well, he just had a little lapse. That's all.
Right. We all do, to your
Yeah.
point. We
Yeah.
all do.
So, he's listening. He's smart. He knows. It'll come.
And what do you find you miss the most being self-isolated?
Well, the people I see all the time. I miss my friends. I miss my band geeks. I miss my colleagues.
There it is.
I miss staff. I really do miss our
Right.
staff. I've been with the town 15 years now, and yeah, I mean they're my guide. They help me learn things because
Right.
they're the expertise in whatever department they're in. They're experts, and they're so willing to share information with you and teach you. So I miss that a lot. So it's that interaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm a people person. I guess that's why I'm in this job. I like people.
And
So,
so you said you've been with the town for 15 years. Um, this is the first time as regional councillor for you, though.
yes.
What has been the most surprising part of the job?
The most surprising of the job? That's a good question. I don't know about surprising. I guess the magnitude of the size of the corporation
Right.
and how to navigate that's surprising. And it's challenging. It's challenging. But what I really appreciate is the atmosphere is much more relaxed than it used to be and friendlier. And I don't think I would have done this unless that change had happened.
Sure.
I saw it prior to making my decision to run, and because I always said no, I'd never do that. But we have a really good group of regional counselors, and of course we don't always agree, but we're very professional about that, and we're friendly with each other regardless. You know, I appreciate people's opinions on things because they believe in those opinions as I believe in mine. So I respect that and I don't take things personally. But I find this is a great group of people at the region and I'm really enjoying working with them.
Now, this is not supposed to be a work podcast. This is supposed to be an unplugged podcast. But that said, I do remember you were one of the few people, I think one of 2 or 3, who ended up voting against the airport back then.
Yes.
And ultimately, the federal government agreed with you, saying we don't need an airport now. Maybe in 20, 25 years, we can revisit it at that point. Were you doing a little dance when you got that report? Were you typing "I told you so" to all your coworkers?
No, no, I would not do that.
And I appreciate that, to be honest. But yeah, but part of you must have felt vindicated, right? Because this was like a 12 Angry Men moment where you were like one of the lone voices who was consistently against the airport, and then to get the science and the data to support that must have been very vindicating.
Well, I understand there's a real concern about jobs out here in the region and enticing those jobs here. And they feel that putting in highways and putting in, an airport will bring those jobs. But it's also going to have a huge, huge impact on the lifestyle
Right.
out there. It will become very built up. You're going to lose that agricultural land. And that was the big issue for me. It abuts the Overbridges Moraine, which is about quality water. And it also will take up a great deal of ag land, which is grade 1, prime ag land, which you don't get everywhere.
Mhm.
And I've heard, the argument, well, we can build,
It was
these big,
the vertical
yeah,
greenhouses.
they're growing in greenhouses. But that's not a natural thing either. And that interrupts the flow, of the life of all of the natural life, whether it's fauna or animals, or bugs. It's a huge interruption in the way the earth works. Um, so I think we have prime one ag lands that we can really, really utilize. And of course, the industry changes all the time, and there's some great ideas coming forward. And I think we need to promote that because people expect to be able to buy local food. When you have an airport, you're going to be importing that local food. So the challenge is always going to be there to have local farming. I think we need to support it more, and we can, and we need to look at it differently. But there was really never any case for an airport at this time.
Right.
It's about, it's about development.
Mhm.
And I don't think that the development in that area is appropriate.
Right. No, no.
Always believe that. Always believe that. And have always been a part of supporting land over landings. And through that have really understood, some of the issues with working with the farmers. So, I think that we're very, very lucky here in Durham that we have such wonderful, beautiful green space. Doesn't mean that these companies are not going to come because we have green space. They're going to come because we do have green space. We attract employees to work, who have expertise and knowledge to come to Durham and work because it's a beautiful place to live. We don't want to look like, the West End where the airport is, do we? We go and we
No,
come
it's
back. We don't stay.
so obviously, I supported the airport based on the idea of jobs and economic development. I completely understand what you're saying, but for
Yeah.
me, who grew up in Markham and then Toronto, two municipalities who saw a lot of the benefits from the development, from the companies coming in. I guess I never lived in Durham before, before 4 years ago. So this idea of like needing to live with green space never really occurred to me before. Like we didn't really go for walks in Markham or in Toronto. Well, Toronto, you'd go for walks down the Danforth or Yonge Street, right? And
Oh,
so
I'm going to come pick you up. We're going to go walking.
that sounds like a threat, to be honest. No, and it's true. And if there's one thing I've learned in the COVID times is just how invigorating and stress relieving a walk can be. Like since the time I was a child, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, everyone's saying go for a walk, it reduces your blood pressure, blah blah blah, and you're just like, okay, whatever, it's just noise. Now that I'm in a situation where it's like you're starting to internalize a lot of the stress and anxiety just from being, cooped
Yeah.
in. Yeah, like even a 20 minutes to an hour walk completely changes my demeanor, completely changes the way I feel, and I definitely see the benefits from it.
I just read a report too. I'll have to dig it out, but it was talking about the benefits of these green spaces. So it cleans your water. It also cleans the air. The trees and the plants clean the air. So it has health benefits that bring down the cost of healthcare. And so there's cost savings there. It also, it prevents runoff, so it prevents flooding because it can absorb those heavy rains. So there are many, many benefits that we don't even think about. And there's many benefits, you got lots that can be, just taken care of. There's money to be made if you have fallen trees that need removing and replanting. Just managing those woodlots so they're healthy and growing is a huge industry on itself and can make a lot of money. There's so many things that we can do. You don't have to have an airport. By
Right.
keeping it green, there are industries there that make money, and it is profitable for us to keep. So
Well,
I've always been an environmentalist, okay, and people know that. I've always had an interest in that, always, particularly in water. Before I was ever on council, believe it or not,
I do.
Was very interested in water issues. And yeah, the more you develop, more demand there is for all of these things. And there's research out there now about the impact of COVID on us with respect to less greenhouse gases
Mhm.
So, the air in China is clearing up, and the canals in Venice are blue and clear,
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
there's less greenhouse gases. It's amazing how the environment is healing itself from all those detrimental chemicals that we pump into it. So I think, this is going to be a lesson going forward that we need to consider what we're doing and how we're going to change this for future generations. We won't do it in mine, we'll start, but for my grandchildren and their children, I think it's very important.
Well, I've already determined that based on the amount of walking and the healthy eating you do, you'll probably outlive me by at least 35 years. So really, you will see, you will reap what you sow here, Ms. Dies. But okay, going back to non-work stuff, because again, we talked about work. We're not supposed. This is not about that. What is your favorite musical? You seem like someone who goes to the musical theater from time to time.
Showboat.
Oh, old school one, huh? That's the band. That's the one with Old Man River, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that one. And Singing in the Rain. I love Singing in the
Right.
Rain. I saw a stage production of that. It was just amazing. They actually had rain.
I was gonna ask, did they
Down
simulate
on
the rain?
stage. Oh yeah. I don't know how they did that. But yeah, I love musicals because they're usually upbeat, and
Right.
fun. Yeah, I don't
Except Les
get to go to.
Miserables. Les Miserables was not upbeat at all.
No, that's why I didn't go to that one.
You haven't seen, but honestly, it's my favorite musical. It
I
is
played the
phenomenal.
music.
Hmm?
The music's great, but yeah, it's not something I really wanted to see.
Well, I would definitely suggest it the next time it's in town. But actually, I actually think it was coming to town, but I think they've had to cancel the run because of this COVID. So
I
you,
love watching old movies, musicals.
yeah.
I love how they choreograph the dancing, and it's just uplifting for me because I can appreciate, I guess, the work that goes into performing that musical.
Well, it's true. I don't think Hollywood really does musicals anymore. I think
No.
La La Land was the last one that I can think of offhand.
Yeah, and that was a new version. If you go way back and look at some of them, Marilyn Monroe, was it Diamonds? Our girl's
Diamonds Are a
best.
Girl's Best Friend. Yeah.
Oh, like that's a classic way of, where they had all the dancers come out making patterns
Yeah, I know.
and they'd film it from up above.
Well, that's what I miss. I miss the
It's
old
awesome.
school where they would like have like synchronized swimmers, and you would
Yeah,
camera and be the synchronized. We don't see synchronized swimming in movies anymore, and we got to fix that.
yeah. And one of my favorite shows used to be I Love Lucy because I love the wardrobes. Oh my God, the wardrobe
Right.
was fantastic. She
Now,
had the most
unfortunately,
beautiful collection of clothes.
that is dating you then right now.
But I still like that period of clothes.
Right.
They were gorgeous, and silks and satins and just,
And I think if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the first like interracial marriages on television because Ricky Ricardo was obviously not, you know,
yeah,
American. I think he was obviously Spanish or something, right?
yes,
And so that
yes.
was very
He
ahead
was
of its
the
time.
brains behind them.
Hmm?
He was the brains behind them.
Well, I always argue I think Lucy was the brains behind it, and
But
Ricky just got
yeah,
frustrated with everything.
she had the talent. She was a
Right.
comedian. He was very talented also, but he really was brains behind the success of the show. Yeah, he worked very hard. But I mean, they're before my time, but I watched them all when I was a kid. And I
Right.
guess you have your favorites, right? That was one of them.
Mine was always, again, my go-to when I was a little kid was to watch The Price is Right. Anytime I was sick or a summer, it was like Price is Right from 11 to 12 every single day, and I loved it.
And you still do because it's still on.
No, I don't accept Drew Carey. I don't like Drew Carey as the host. I'm a Bob Barker guy.
Oh,
No, Bob Barker with his, the skinny mic and just that jet
okay.
black hair, and he
But
was
I like Terry.
he was always very tanned.
I like Mr. Trump.
Yeah, well, no,
He's
that's
always
that's
very,
too. He's like
very
a
tan.
yeah, he's like a baseball glove. Not to
Yeah,
speak ill of our
that's
president.
a good way of putting it. Yeah, he's a different color, that's for sure.
Yeah, very much so. Well, Joanne, our time is almost up. So thank you again for joining us. Is there, first question, is there a charity, a nonprofit, a restaurant you want to plug that we can put in the details in the comments?
I've always had a working relationship with Community Development Council Durham. They're a social planning council here. And I think it's always very, very important to support them. They were instrumental in starting the Welcome Center here in Ajax for new immigrants, which helps them learn a new life, basically. We help them learn and they have conversation circles with volunteers, and they do gardening, and they do all kinds of wonderful things. But they have programs that support people in need.
Right.
And they do the research behind where the gaps are in the community. And I think the research is so important because we always have to prove the need before we put the money there.
Right.
So we call it cdcd.org. They're amazing. They work really hard. Love Nathan. He's done a great job. He's helped us with the homelessness task force. Very knowledgeable about the community. And of course, Salvation Army.
Yep.
They need food, please. They need food. They're on Hunt Street. Just drop it off. Jason's a wonderful man. He looks after people. Again, they have many, many, many programs. The food bank is just a small part of what they do. So you can go online and donate to either of those organizations.
Those are two very good ones. And how can people find you online?
Well, they can find me online. I have a Facebook page online, but I don't know yet.
And Twitter. And Twitter. If I'm not mistaken, your Twitter is, I'm just looking at it right now, at Joanne Dies.
Yeah, I do Twitter. I confess, I have someone locally do that for me because I can't keep up with it all.
No, of course not. Yeah.
But after this COVID-19, I will know everything. I will learn a bit of everything on computer.
Well, make sure your social media person retweets this video when it comes out. It'll probably come out Monday, and we'll retweet it then. Monday or Thursday.
Yeah, she's awesome. She looks after me.
Perfect. Well, Joanne, it was an absolute
partners.
Right? It was an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for taking the time to, speak to the residents and whatnot. Yeah, so that's another episode of Durham Unplugged. I'm your host, Sterling Lee. You can find me at your voice for Ajax. Almost forgot my own plugs. And we will see you next time. I think my next few guests are lined up, and they are going to be just as exciting as Joanne was. So Joanne, thank you very much. We will see you again.
It was my pleasure, Sterling. Thank you so much.
All right, ciao.